Hello everyone and welcome to the All Blue Review, a podcast about all things One Piece. Today we're going to cover a few topics regarding this. So I think the best thing to start with is about some changes Toei made.
Oh, that's a good one to talk about. If you don't know, back around 2016, roughly around then, the One Piece anime and Toei as a whole were in a pretty bad position, mainly down to pressuring animators and other such staff. The animes they were producing, mainly Dragon Ball Super and One Piece, took a massive nosedive in quality. This could be down to just art direction, how long episodes were paced, and just animation as a whole. But in recent years, mainly because people were complaining that much and it was a problem, the animes they've been producing have picked up quite a bit. Mainly One Piece, since that's their biggest hit right now, and has been for the last 20 years. I think starting around, I'd say Wano, it started to really pick up. The end of Whole Cake Island, the arc before that, was definitely a much higher step in quality, but still had the same issues, I'd say.
Yeah, because obviously the Dressrosa arc, that was very dragged out and had some pacing issues.
Oh, that's an understatement of the century. Half a chapter an episode for one of the biggest arcs in the series anyway was a major problem.
Oh, tell me about it.
I think the major problem was it was a timed arc with a massive ticking clock at the end, so then it really just paced it up so badly.
And what was it, like one episode a week if we were lucky?
One episode a week if you were lucky, and that didn't include breaks or any kind of changes to how the schedule worked.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
That was, those were the dark times of One Piece.
The dark times were... Oof. It was rough, and if you knew about it, you know about it.
Yeah.
Binging is way better now.
Oh,
Still rough, but definitely an improvement.
Because I know, obviously, they stepped up when it came to Wano.
Definitely. Wano, they definitely amped up what they were doing. They had a complete reshuffle of what they were doing. A lot more focus on close accuracy to the manga with the art style, and generally just focusing on animation as a whole.
So, I think we should also discuss favourite Devil Fruit users, primarily.
For a user, I think my favourite's always going to probably end up being Crocodile. I love how he uses his fruit, even if it's just a sand. He's a sandman, basically, but I love how he used that to his advantage, especially in recent times. But, I think it could be interchanged with Katakuri, just because Mochi is not exactly the most deadly thing ever, and he makes it terrifying.
Oh, I know. Because I find Logia fruits to actually be kind of like the coolest ones.
They are. They really are. Like, I love Miazoan fruit. I love an animal, but I think Logias just have the potential for cool as shit.
Because Logia users, they're the hardest to beat when you think about it, just because the fact that they can, reduce their harm they take in fights.
Definitely. I think early on they were this insurmountable. I don't think anyone actually properly beat a Logia in a straight up fight.
No. Because obviously Luffy and Crocodile, obviously it took Luffy, 3 attempts just to beat him?
Yeah, he had one fight which ended up him getting gutted. Another fight which ended with him getting thrown off a cliff. And then the third fight he almost died to poison, internal bleeding, and then getting crushed under a temple.
Yeah.
So, kind of a problem. Oh, like Anal. No one really ever beat him, they just knocked him out for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think definitely with post-time skip, there was like a change in how people perceive like a threat, like a Logia.
Primarily, Haki as well. That really made
definitely
Logia less threatening.
It lowered the threat, definitely, especially with like directly after the time skip introducing Haki. Logia's had a bit of a drop because we had Caesar, who wasn't really that intimidating of a presence, to be honest. He was a goofy man.
Yeah.
So it definitely didn't help. And then immediately after, we had Smoker, another prominent Logia user, and he got destroyed.
Yeah.
So it didn't do a lot. How about you? Favorites?
So some of my favourite Devil Fruit users. I like the former Marine, Aokiji.
Oh yeah, Aokiji. Kuzo, my man.
Yeah.
Nice man.
To be honest, I like all, the 3 original Marine lieutenants, I find they all had...
a unique little bit to them.
You had, what was his name? Kuze, the Adam Sandler looking guy.
Kizaru, he was Adam Sandler.
Yeah. And then you got Akainu, John Cena lookalike.
Literally is John Cena. Angry John Cena man.
Yeah. I just find they all had the light fruit, the lava fruit.
Nice, yeah. They're They were terrifying. They were this massive force of nature.
Yeah.
Even now in current story, there's still these massive presences.
Because obviously in the early seasons, the Marines, they were kind of treated like a bit of a joke. Like, obviously you had Smoker, but, you got all their foot soldiers that just tend to get destroyed in mass amounts.
I think the Admirals were definitely needed.
And then the Admirals, they showed that, the Marines are not to be messed with.
It's a massive force. Like,
yeah.
The introduction to our first Admiral was him freezing an entire ocean island to island. That's just an impressive, and especially with how Delphi uses main weakness is the ocean. It's just a massive statement.
That showcased that even in the pre-time skip, for like all the, warlords Luffy had actually defeated,
they were nothing.
It just showed, he still had a ways to go.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think now we should discuss the video game, One Piece Pirate Warriors.
The fourth entry, definitely.
The fourth entry, primarily.
Yeah.
Because obviously, warrior games, they've been going on for a long time. You've got Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors.
Hyrule Warriors recently.
Yeah.
They got another entry coming out.
And, they decided to put the One Piece IP into this category of games.
Definitely fit. Like, it's a series of very big attacks, very flashy. A lot of characters to pick from.
Yeah. What did you think about them condensing the story for the fourth entry?
I don't mind condensing as much, because a lot of early stories don't deal with these massive crowd battles. Because you got a very early time skip. It's very, like, selected crowds. You got, like, a few henchmen here and there. There's nothing too crazy. And I think a lot of abilities were less devastating back then. It limited what they could do.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it as much, because it cut to the interesting parts, and I do miss some pieces. Thriller Bark was when I was missed, because I love the aesthetic of anything gothic, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I missed that, but it's an okay thing to skip over since it is not the main focus.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people were kind of angry about it, but when you think about it, it just shows that really you should watch the anime or read the manga, because, a game where you're just, fighting mass amounts of enemies constantly, it's not really the best way to learn the story, is it?
Definitely not. Especially with the inclusion of Wano in the story, they did it so early they got to write their own ending again.
Yeah, like they did it with Dressrosa in Pirate Warriors 3.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, because we both know Luffy never would have actually beat Doflamingo in Gear 3.
Oh, no. Well, it's actually Saba more relevant, so that was nice.
But, obviously they're still releasing DLC for the game now, even though it's 5 years old.
Oh, yeah, it is that old, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the first DLC pack was pretty close to release, and that was said to be like the end of it, really. Then, out of nowhere, for the release of Gear 5, which was such a massive event, they threw in a new DLC, which included Gear 5.
Yeah.
Which was, what was it from I remember? Yamato, a Beast Kaido, and then Gear 5 Luffy. So that was like a big essential part of that.
Because when you think about it, it would have kind of been a waste of time just to make a new Pirate Warriors game just for the ending of one.
Definitely. Like, they could definitely fit an entire story in there, but
yeah,
it's the sacrifice you have to make for those kind of stories, because of how big these arcs are. Making one set of levels per arc, that would be such a massive
especially
deal.
when you're talking 1,000+ episodes, and that's excluding filler as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's not much filler anyway. It's very short filler.
Yeah.
So it's such a massive ask, really. Now they're releasing another DLC. We got a third set of packs, but they're doing a little interesting twist with this one. It's a poll now. So now fans will have to decide what they want in this pack from a set amount of predetermined fan requests, basically. They come in from anything in the story that they may have missed, that they've cut out from old games.
So literally like that old treasure chest guy from season 1.
They could probably include him if they wanted to.
Yeah.
There's been no official news on what's been picked yet. I think they're still compiling all the answers, because it's a worldwide poll, so a lot of people will be putting it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no real news on that for now, but I think we should move on to the current arc discussion.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm a bit behind, but if you'd like to inform me of how the current arc is rolling out.
The current arc right now has just returned after a 6-month break.
Okay.
So we had... The main arc right now has progressed decently well into its run. It's the 4th biggest arc in the series, as of in the manga. It's 64 chapters, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's a decently large set of events. Since they just came back, they've had a few bumps at the beginning. They wanted to, in their words, fix the pacing issues, improve animation, and generally just improve the quality standard, most likely in preparation for the remake coming out under Wit Studios. Because that would be such a massive blow to what they already have. So their pacing, sound effect use, which has been the same since the early 80s, has been a massive source of, well, criticism and just talk as a whole. But the first few episodes had a few bumps here and there. They were paced out quite awkwardly, but as of now, the last 3 that have been released have been to an incredibly high standard. They've been 1 chapter of content per 20 minutes, but have just been such well-paced and expanded upon. Nothing has been taken away, but there was a massive bit of discourse in the early episodes because of the treatment of Sanji. So it's been no secret for a long time that Toei does not like Sanji. They treat him incredibly badly, mainly for his pervert gag of him liking women. But in the recent episode, they removed him from a massive group shot, which was meant to have him giving food out to different characters because they were resting. They removed him from that and then explicitly made him have heart eyes for a character who is going to be revealed to be a child soon.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this was not responded to well because a massive point of discussion was that Sanji, during the entirety of Eckert Island, the current arc, never once made any advances towards this character, which was seemingly made as a careful move by Oda, the author, to make Sanji, not a pedophile. That was a massive point, and now you have Toei Animation explicitly making him one, even if it is by accident. But there has been some course correction. In the second episode before, there was talks of her being a kid, and they show a new scene of Sanji being informed of this scene, she's a child. And now in the new episode, he saves her from, she falls from a big height, and no groping, no weird moments that Toei normally do, and I think it's not much, but it's a step in the right direction, I can say.
Because, obviously we know what Sanji's like, but at the same time, he's no Master Roshi.
So. No, he is no Master Roshi. He respects women. Toei can make him as horrible as they want to. He's never been, well, aside from the beginning of the time skip, but that was an editor problem. So there's a reason he got more horny as the story got on. An editor made him that way. And then they kind of just had to keep going on with it because it'd be weird otherwise or something. Moving on. So
let's try and get into our final point now. Obviously, the one who I feel like they're slating to be the true villain by the end of the series, Blackbeard.
Blackbeard is a character who is very contentious. Mainly because of his lack of presence, but also overwhelming presence in the story.
Because he seems like, he's always 10 steps ahead.
That's true. He really shows up. Recently, I think he had his, 5th, 6th appearance in the entire series after 20 years. He's introduced back during Skypiea, Jaya, the Sky Island series. And then he reappeared again during, I think, the end of Thriller Bark.
Right? And then he was in Impel Down, which was that where he had his first fight with Luffy?
He had his proper fight with Luffy, where mainly it was just a hit. But it was still, confrontation. Then he returned to Marineford to end the war and get Whitebeard's fruit, which essentially asserted himself as one of the new superpowers of the world. They don't see him for a bit. He has a cameo in Dressrosa, and he talks on the phone. One scene on Pirate Island, and then recently in the current arc, he's had 3 to 4 major appearances, which has been such a massive consistency for him.
Because I know during, back when Wano was still they were releasing chapters for it. I did have a theory, but it didn't pan out. Because I thought, obviously he took Whitebeard's fruit. I was kind of expecting him to do the same with Kaido as well. Yeah,
that has been a theory for a long time, that he'll take a Zoan Devil fruit.
Yeah.
Because he already has a Logia Devil fruit with his darkness. Then Whitebeard's Quake fruit was Paramecia, so now he has one left. I think a theory that's been floating around for a good few years now is he's either taken a Cerberus or a Kraken devil fruit, which fits into Davy Jones because he does have quite a few connections to him.
Yeah.
The Cerberus theory was proven wrong recently. A weapon was given the Cerberus devil fruit, so that's been deconfirmed, but a Kraken is still out for debate.
That is a viable option, yeah.
Because of the 3 hearts, but also it's never been explained why he's the way he is. It's always been said he just has a weird body.
I feel like we won't get any true answers to that until the very end.
Definitely, not till then.
Speaking of the end, like, how far would you say One Piece actually is from reaching its conclusion?
That's the thing. Egghead Island was confirmed to be the beginning of the final saga of One Piece.
Right.
And the ending is very similar to how Whitebeard ended the time skip, with the declaration of the One Piece being real.
Yeah.
As they say, the One Piece is real indeed. We have a massive group shot of multiple important characters for the future of the series. You have Emu, you have Dragon, you have the Admirals, you have Blackbeard, all the Emperors, all saying that Vegapunk declares to the world, whoever claims the One Piece shall change the destiny of the world. So everyone's converging on that now. The Marines have a motivation to go after it, so it's definitely ramping up to the end.
So, just one more additional question. What do you actually think the One Piece is?
That is a question that's been thrown out for a long time. All that's known about the One Piece is, well, from statements, it's not the friends made along the way. Oda has made several, statements that he hates that trope, and thank God. And that is a fitting reward for Luffy, which means it's something tangible that he can get, or something that he will use. The best idea I've ever saw on it is that it is a bottle of sake, because the original translation for the song Binks' Brew, which is a very well-known song among many different pirates in One Piece, is talking about a laugh tale, which is the name of the island where the One Piece is located, apparently. And the idea is that the song is actually basically telling how the journey to put the One Piece where it was found. Since we know Roger never put it there, it was just he found it. He found it, said, "This is cool. I'll put this here. See ya." But that's my guess. I have no idea, to be honest, and I can't wait to see what it is.
That's fair enough. Thank you for listening to the All Blue Review. Tune in next time. See ya.
Au revoir.